Okay, it is 12:45 and some attendees are starting to trickle in. So we are going to get ready to start our next session here, Building Effective Human-in-the-Loop Systems for Fraud and Safety, which is presented today by Alice Hunsberger, who is the Head of Trust and Safety at Musubi. Musubi, am I pronouncing that correctly?
Masubi. But
Musubi.
yeah, yeah.
Musubi. Alice has broad experience leading teams in a lot of different sectors of this issue and this industry, policy, operations, AI-driven fraud prevention, and it really gives her an incredible perspective, a very unique perspective on the issues that we're going to be talking about today. You may know her actually from her recent talk on this topic or related topics at the Marketplace Risk Conference. So once again, we're very excited to have a wonderful and sought after speaker. And today, Alice will be sharing strategies for combining human expertise and oversight with AI technology and innovation to the ultimate benefit of all of us as we work to protect the digital landscape. So take it away, Alice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thanks for having me. I'm really excited to be here. Yeah, just a little bit of background. I currently work at a company that provides AI solutions for fraud and trust and safety teams. And been here for a little over 6 months, but it was founded by somebody who I worked with at two previous platforms before. I was head of trust and safety. He was the CTO, and we tackled so many scam and fraud problems together. And he was interested and was like, "Okay, this is the company that I'm building." I also spent a little bit of time working at an outsourcing company, and so managing the human teams who do moderation reviews and fraud reviews. So I've spent the last 20 years working in trust and safety and kind of coming at it from all angles, from being head of trust and safety at a platform, managing human teams, building automation from the ground up at a couple different platforms, now working for a company that collaborates with other companies as a vendor and does all of that. And the thing that is stuck through this thread the whole time is sort of figuring out when do we use people, when do we automate, what are the trade-offs, how do you build systems that work. And this has become especially important now in the age of generative AI, where a whole world of possibilities is open to us, and also everyone is terrified that their jobs are going to be replaced by AI. So I'm going to talk a little bit about different ways to build systems using human in the loop. Everybody says it's a good thing to do, but how do you actually do it? So I'll give you some frameworks there. I'll also give you some information about how you can build teams that are thinking about AI and working with AI in an effective way. And if you're an individual contributor, I'll also talk about how to think about your career and building skills onto your current skill set to give you longevity in the age of AI. So it's a whole lot to cover. Hopefully we'll have a couple minutes at the end for questions, but I'll try to get through it all because there's a lot. So first, just starting with basics. Fraudsters are using AI. We should be using AI too to beat them at their own game. There's also a lot of different regulatory pressures that are happening, and many companies are being asked to do more with less. We have a lot of pressure from on high from CEOs or investors to be AI first companies, but what does that mean and how do you make it work? So lots of stuff happening really, really fast. I also want to sort of start foundationally as we're talking about all of this. When I talk about AI, there's large language models, which is generative AI like ChatGPT. But there's also machine learning, which is a different kind of AI, and many of you probably have been using that for years in your fraud systems. And that is also a viable kind of AI. So when I talk about AI, I'll be talking about both of these things. Some LLMs, sometimes more fixed machine learning models. And there's pros and cons to both. Like LLMs are now as cheap as machine learning, or can be, the faster, smaller models, but there's also really big reasoning models that take forever to think and are super expensive to use, but like can do so much more than fixed like black box machine learning models ever could. So it's pretty cool to see the advances in technology that we're getting. Okay, and then when thinking about using either of these systems or using people versus AI in general, you want to think about like what metrics are important to you. So we have accuracy, speed, adaptability, explainability, cost effectiveness. There's like the old the old saying, you can pick two or three, but you cannot have all of them at the same time. Doesn't work that way. There's always trade-offs in trust and safety and fraud work. And so you sort of have to decide, do you want it to be cheap, fast, or good? Can't pick all three. So when you have humans in the loop, humans are good. They're not particularly fast. They're not particularly cheap. Um, and same with different kinds of AI models. And we have to think about like, when should we be using human judgment, human creativity, human expertise? What is the like special magic sauce that you can do that AI will never be able to replicate? And how do we get people doing more of that work and less of the repeatable, sort of boring work? So how do we design systems that use the best of both? For people, like I said, deep investigation, also empathy, intuition. Scams especially are often, you know it when you see it. If you try to build really dry policies that are like cut and dry, black and white, say this is exactly what a scammer looks like. The scammers are going to change their tactics 2 days later, and then your policy is going to be wrong. But a person will be able to look and say, okay, this isn't written in a rule book, but like I know this person is up to something super sketchy. AI cannot do that. AI needs rules and outlines, and so they need somebody, a human, to be like, oh, I recognize this. I know it when I see it. Let me write it down and have it repeatable. And then, of course, the advantage of AI is it's cheaper, doesn't get tired, doesn't get bored, pretty consistent. Um, so some of the ways to have that human intuition and creativity work with AI, this is the stuff that hopefully you want to be doing more of. Feeding back into model training. So like I just said, telling AI what a scam looks like, identifying new fraud signals, finding weird edge cases that haven't been found before, red teaming, which is when you think like a scammer and then try to break all the systems and see what happens. And so I got ahead of myself. Okay, so these are all of the different ways that you can use your human brain and what people are good at, what AI is good at, how do you actually combine them? What are the frameworks for a human in the loop system? And a human in the loop system is what it sounds like. It is keeping humans in charge of AI systems and making sure that we're overseeing them or governing them in a way that is effective and fair and doing the job that it's supposed to do. And there's lots of different ways of organizing those systems. So I'm going to go through 5 of them, I think. Okay, so the first is full review. This is where AI will add a score or make a decision, but humans make the final call. So it's sort of AI as a co-pilot or AI as like additional information for the human reviewer. This is great because AI is just giving you extra info. It's not actually making any decisions, but not very cost effective because you're paying for humans and AI together at the same time. So you're like double paying for every decision. But it's good when you just need a little bit of extra context, really, really high stakes decisions where it's good to have both brains on top of it for anything that's regulated. But I would not recommend this for every day. There's escalation models. This is probably what most people think about when they think about a human in the loop system. It's like, oh, have AI do the easy stuff and then escalate the hard stuff to people. It's really good for high volume queues, but where you have like a subset that need to be looked at. The problem with this, there's a couple problems. One, it needs to know what to escalate. LLMs are very bad at escalation models because they're always really confident. Like the way that they are designed is, oh, I've seen this before. I know what it is. Here's the answer, whether it's right or not. And when it's not right, that's like a hallucination or just an incorrect decision. So you can't really get LLMs to escalate based on confidence because they're always confident, but they can escalate based on severity. So they can say, oh, this is really a really like sketchy situation, the most severe that we've seen, that can get escalated to a human. Sampling models just pulling a random sample, so getting AI to make all the decisions, but then humans are basically doing like a QA check on it. That's pretty straightforward. It's good for things where there's low risk if it goes wrong, because all of your corrections are going to be retroactive. Holdout model, this is something we do at Masubi a lot. We have a whole product that does this. It's where AI makes most of the decisions, but you take like a holdout set, like a statistically significant sample, and you send it to people every day. And then you have the model learn from those decisions and update itself for the next day. So that's a way to have AI automating the bulk of decisions, but also have that new insight on new fraud patterns from human moderators. It's really good if you have some sort of adversarial whack-a-mole fraud problems. Finally, there's building golden data sets. This is a way to test all of your systems. So you can test your human fraud teams against your machine learning models, against LLMs, against whatever else you have going on. And you basically build a set of examples with labels that are golden or like perfect. And then you benchmark everybody against it. And that's another really good way to not only see how everyone's doing against each other, but also to see how your AI systems work over time. Because let's say a fraud pattern evolves over time and your machine learning model or your policies were really great. Fraud moves forward, your machine learning model or your LLMs don't move forward, and you use the same set of data and you're like, oh, that's not so good anymore because there's a whole lot of new stuff that's been going on. Of course, you don't have to pick one of these. You can pick a whole variety based on your situation. It'll have to do with the risk level, the volume, cost, your human team, etc. It's a whole bunch of different variations, but hopefully that gives you some ideas of where to start with. And to implement this at scale, obviously you need humans to set the risk tolerance and your policies. Make sure that you're collaborating with everybody in the company. And I think the most important thing is to be really transparent about when you're using AI and when you're not and why, and when you're using people and when you're not and why. And have that set on facts, data, but also values, saying, what about human judgment do you value? What touch points to your customers are especially sensitive that you really want to make sure you get right? Which ones are less sensitive and you feel more comfortable automating? And that kind of gives you a North Star for how to think about your systems. So to get started on doing all of this, or even if you're currently doing it, but you're thinking about it slightly different, wanting to try a different tactic, start with assessing your problem. Where are you now? What's your maturity level? What are the metrics that are going well? What's not going well? Start really small and test really small and then build from there. Think about those critical touch points, like I just said. Iterate, test, try again, experiment, be creative. It's not going to be right the first time, maybe not the 10th time. You have to keep trying. And then I think the most important thing is to build feedback loops into not only your systems, but also your thinking. So go back and test constantly, try new things constantly, keep adapting. One of the biggest mistakes that I've seen people do in this space is think about sort of set it and forget it. Like, oh, we did it once, we've done it. Humans are just like little check box checkers saying yes, yes, AI is fine, yes, and they like stop thinking critically. So you really have to think with a curious and investigative mind when you're looking at these systems. So in order to build a culture that actually does that, if you're a leader, think about building psychological safety for your teams. That means like celebrate when they find something that's wrong, celebrate the catches, not just the misses. Sort of no blame culture like many engineering teams have. And reward investigation quality, not just time, because you have to think about your performance metrics and like what are people being incentivized to do. If they're being incentivized to work quickly, AI could just do that. Like you want actual quality from people. And the most important thing is to protect time for your team, to be strategic, to play, to investigate, to be creative, all of the things that humans are really good at. You need to like give them time to do that and build a team that is autonomous and responsible and able to have that freedom and use it effectively. If you're an individual on a team thinking about this stuff, document everything that you do, teach the next person coming up, teach the AI models, uh, make sure you're thinking in terms of systems and retraining and these feedback loops and not just reviewing individual cases one by one. And again, curious. Um, you might have heard a lot of like AI first coming from CEOs, especially these days. Like we're an AI first company. Um, that just means like think about what you can do, what you can automate. If anything is slow, can you automate it? But also be sure to think about human first. Like, don't use, you should use AI to do things that are manual and slow, but you also should not use AI to do something that you can't do yourself. So if you don't know how to do the manual, slow process yourself, then you're not going to know when AI is doing it well or not. And they could come up with like completely incorrect answer and you wouldn't know to check it. So you have to do the work first in order to have AI do it second. And then finally, I said be a time traveler. That's so fanciful, but look back at all of the systems, all of the processes that are super inefficient, that drive you crazy, that feel like a waste of time, and then also look forward and think about what is possible now that wasn't possible before. So last section here, thinking about your own career. Uh, think about building, it's called like a T-shaped career. So you have really deep experience in fraud or trust and safety, investigation, and then the crossbar of the T is really broad on AI, data, communication, bridging the gaps between all of these different areas. And the way to sort of build that horizontal T is uh, here we go. AI literacy, first and foremost. If you're not playing with all the tools, you should be thinking, learning about prompt engineering, model limitations, knowing when to use machine learning versus LLMs, deep investigation techniques. If you're a fraud analyst, you probably already have that. Thinking in terms of systems, I've said that many times. And then communication, that's a very human thing. So being able to talk about what you're doing, why, what you found, what your hypothesis is, how you're testing it, all of that. AI in general, especially when using Gen AI as an individual, you should think about how to use it to make you and your work more strategic, not just more productive. So CEOs love to think about productivity and AI replacing humans so that they can be more productive. Um, but really, if you're trying to keep your career going forward, think about being strategic, because that makes you valuable to the company that you work for. So again, that's a lot of analysis, being really proactive, finding ways to improve things that are inefficient or not that great. Um, some practical things. You should try vibe coding, use Claude Code. It's not just for coding, it's for a lot of different things. You can use custom GPTs or gems for Gemini. Those are like individual projects with a lot of contextual information. I have some for data analysis. I have some to like help me write a LinkedIn post based on a blog post that I wrote. A whole bunch of cool stuff that you can do. Um, think about what you want to do less of, and it can give a basic foundation for new skills. So, like as an example of being T-shaped, I've been in trust and safety for 20 years now. I communicate a lot about it, like I am here. I write a lot. I create a lot of content, but I'm not a content marketer or a marketing person. AI has helped me sort of step into that role alongside doing, more technical work as I work for this startup. And so that's kind of fun. It's like a way where I know what I'm saying is correct. I just don't know the strategies for getting that out there for a company. And AI is a good way of broadening my skill set. So I can like add marketing to my list now. So, in summary, AI is cool. It can do really cool stuff, but obviously, you want to be careful about using it. You don't want to fall into traps of creating more bias, creating more problems. It lacks your specific expertise, what makes you special as a human. In the future, needs to be all of us working together and thinking strategically about how to use it. And finally, I'll leave you with this, like, I hope that you feel coming out of this, like your particular skills and insights as an investigator, as a fraud person or trust and safety person, those skills are more valuable now than ever because that is what makes AI tick, is the strategy behind you and your deep knowledge. So think about your skills becoming even more valuable and building systems that use the best of both worlds.
Amazing. What a great closing comment. That was superb. Uh, as with every session, we have Q&A. The box is open. If anybody wants to drop questions in, please. Alice, I'm going to use the last couple of minutes of our time to do a Q&A because I wrote some notes. I thought if you have time, if you'd like to stay with us.
Yeah. No, yeah,
Amazing.
of course.
I love the discussion on culture and play and safety and allowing time to investigate. Um,
Mhm.
but how would you advise somebody who comes from the payments ecosystem, traditional transactions, they know what they're looking at. How do they leap over into a comfortable place to explore, and B, what should they do first? Because anyone that's not done or played in the environment and comes from the traditional payment space is probably a little intimidated and they feel like they're falling behind. And I hate
Mhm.
that for them. So how do we get them to where we need them to
Yeah.
be with comfort?
I think that is such a good question. I said I touched on a tiny bit at the end, but obviously abide by your company's AI rules. Don't put your company data in any unapproved LLM system that will get you fired. But ideally, especially if you have a company that is hoping to develop your skills, you have like we have Gemini with our Google Workspace at my company, but there's lots of different options. If there is a safe space, start putting information in there, and just like when you get stuck on a problem, you can just ask AI and say, okay, I'm thinking about this problem. Here are the steps that I'm going to work through it. What else could I be thinking about? You can even ask AI, how could I be using this? Like, this is my job. This is what I do every day. This is what I hate. And I like takes forever and is super annoying. What can you do to help? And AI is actually really, really good at giving you tips for where it can help out. So just have a conversation. I think that's the place to start. And then, see what feels useful and what doesn't. The second thing is like talk to other people in your space and see how other people are using it and doing it. Nobody needs to reinvent the wheel here. Hopefully we're all friends and sharing what we know, sharing what we do. So I think, even if you are in a pretty traditional space doing pretty traditional work, you can still learn a lot, especially if you're on the fraud side. Like, look into the trust and safety side of the fence a little bit. We don't often share information between each other. Our worlds can sometimes be very different, but I feel like a lot of experimentation, especially for people working in trust and safety for social media platforms. So maybe just like look to them as an example of like a parallel peer in the safety space, and maybe you'll get some ideas there too.
Excellent, excellent advice. I appreciate that. Where do you think, give me the best warning advice for anybody outside of the adhere to your company's AI policy. I couldn't, I can't scream that enough. Please,
Please.
please do not wander off the playground and start trying to reinvent
No.
stuff. Yeah, nobody wants you to do that. Everybody does want you to experience the coolness of what this machinery can do for you. What's the biggest concern that you want everyone to recognize before they wander off and start playing in the space?
Um, I mean, data protection, privacy, user privacy, obviously, is like the big one. I think the other thing I touched on very briefly, but don't use AI to do anything that you don't understand and couldn't do manually yourself. Sometimes Gen AI can go off the rails a little bit, and it works incredibly well when you give it very strong guardrails and you say, this is exactly what I want you to do. This is exactly how to do it. These are the lines that you will not cross. Then it's pretty good at staying within the boundaries. But if you don't know enough to know what those boundaries should be, and you are not communicating those boundaries when you're setting up systems or workflows, then things can go off the rails without you even realizing or having the experience to do it. So take the time, especially at the beginning, to cross-check everything, do everything manually. Like a really super simple example would be if you're asking to generate a report and it references somebody else's report, ask for a link to that report and then go read it and then see if what was written is actually the same thing that was referenced. And sometimes it will be, and sometimes it might not be, unless you say, hey, now, please double check that and make sure. And that's the same when you're doing analysis of fraud patterns, for example. It can do some analysis and it can come up with really interesting scenarios or ideas. But unless you know enough to say, like, oh, yeah, that looks right, here's how I double check it, like, don't just present it to your boss as the answer. Make sure that you know enough to check it.
Excellent warning. And I think for anybody who hasn't played with the new technology, truly going out and just get on YouTube and watch some videos about just prompting and the safety and the way that you can engage with the machinery. It's not, yeah, everything is a brilliant 100% accurate. It will go out and fill in voids to keep you happy. And it feels much better about
Mhm.
itself when it does that. And double
Yeah.
clicking and really challenging the data that it returns, even when you ask it for an authoritative source, it will go pick, a Reddit article, and this is clearly authoritative, right? So it is so flawed, but so brilliant. So you learning how to drive that machinery before you even get into the machinery, just take your time. I think the
Yep.
lesson we've learned across all of the speakers today is humans are very important to the evolution of the technology, but humans have to be a leader in and not just a participant of. So there's
Yes.
there's an absolute collaboration element. You, my friend, did
Mhm.
an awesome job on your presentation. Do you have a closing thought for the audience, or can we cut you loose and send you back to your day job?
um, No closing thoughts other than if you try any of these things, let me know. Let me know how things are going. Let me know if you need help. I'm here to chat. You can find me on LinkedIn. I'm all over the place there. My email address is alice@masivilabs.ai. Even if you don't want to buy our tools or whatever, like truly, I don't want anybody reinventing the wheel. And we're stronger together and better together when we share information. So yeah, just be in
Amazing.
touch.
And thank you for being such a transparent partner in the space. That's how I found you. I've been following you for a while, and you post 11 times, and you got our attention. That was an excellent little series you did. Thank you for
I
that.
stopped posting on LinkedIn 11 times a week.
Yeah.
But hey, if it got introduced me to you, maybe I should start that back up again.
Fire it back up. You never know who's out there like, hey, that's awesome. I love that. Thank you, my friend. As always, stay safe. Take care of
Yeah,
yourself.
thank you.
Bye, everyone. Jump to the next session.
Bye.